go back really not that long ago, as I say, we owned the news. We were the gatekeepers, and we very much owned the facts as well. If it said it in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, then that was a fact. Nowadays, people can go to all sorts of different sources for the news, and they're much more questioning about what we're saying. So it's no longer good enough for us just to say, this is what happened, or this is the news. We have to explain our working. So readers expect to understand how we source stories. They want to know how we go about getting stories. We have to sort of lift the bonnet, as it were, and in a way that newspapers aren't used to doing, and explain to people what we're doing. We need to be much more transparent about how we go about collecting.
Yeah, by shutting down the comment sections. Did you notice that? Because in the beginning, if you wanted to read the newspaper, you had to actually buy a physical copy. Most people had the subscription. There was a little kid with a bike that threw the newspaper at people's doors, or you get it through the mail. So as more and more people get attracted to the internet, there is a change in the way that newspapers do business. Now they have their websites, and you go on the website of the newspaper and you read the news for free. And in order to attract people and form communities, they had comment sections. And the thing with the comment section, right, was actually very profitable for the newspapers. Because you go there and you get to see an ad, right? That's how the newspaper made money. Like, the content was free, but you get to see the ads. So you go on their website, you get to see the ads, you read the newspapers in the morning, and then you leave a comment. And some other guy that maybe is a troll or disagrees with you leaves a comment to your comment. So you get a notification. So you go back to the forum and you get to see the ads again. Now you saw the ads twice. That means that the newspaper is making more money. And you respond to the guy. That guy is now going back onto the comments, and you have like this back and forth, and everyone is clicking on the website. Everyone is engaging. This was more engagement than if you just like read the news once and then you move away, right? But what the newspapers realized is that, holy shit, like, we are the gatekeepers of information. We can't allow people to debunk us in the comment section. We cannot allow for community notes. We can't allow, like, when we say that the air conditioners are sexist, we cannot have people mock and ridicule us. When we attack a scientist for landing a shuttle on a comet because his shirt is sexist and ostracizing, we cannot allow the public to make fun of us. So they shut down the comment sections. And it was like, oh, too many trolls, oh, blah, 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 blah. Too much sexismus. And the reason they did it is because, like, they don't want transparency. They do not want the public to question them. And what's really fascinating is the change in American culture, which is also due to these individuals. If you look at how things used to be back in the day, like how news managed to travel around human settlements, was from poets, people singing ballads, and you had the town crier. And that was pretty much it. Like, that's how news managed to travel around the kingdom. And of course, you had like merchants and travelers, and you had like a traveler going into your village, and everyone wanted to talk to him. It's like, where are you from? What's happening where you're from? Like, tell us how your place is like. But like, that was the extent of information travel back in the day, if you are like part of the common folk. And it all changed with the invention of the printing press. Now that the printing press becomes a thing, paper is starting to become cheaper. More and more people become literate. They are able to allow for information to travel quickly from one part of the country to another. And this is when the government wants to control the information. Like, the church actually burned the guy that translated the first Bible. Like, they dug up his corpse and burned it. Why? Because, like, the church wanted to be the gatekeeper of information. They didn't want the peasant to start interpreting the Bible by themselves, right? Because then why do you need a priest? So the control of information was something that most governments desired. Many kings would censor publications. So the idea of the freedom of the press was literally in order to allow the masses to communicate, so that they can hold the government accountable, so that they can hold the church accountable, so that they can hold the king accountable. The concept of freedom of the press doesn't mean the corporate press. Right? You look at the United States now, and they name like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or whatever, right? When you go all the way to the top, you realize that most of the news organizations are organized in a pyramid-like structure, right? You have like a person that owns subsidiaries, and then all the way down. And I think like I saw a chart, there's like 5 people in total that own the entirety of news in the United States, right? And they get to decide, like they get to set the editorial guidelines, they get to set like what is allowed to talk and what is allowed to talk about on their publications, so on and so forth. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, you know, but the problem is like when you treat them as authoritative sources, when you treat them that they're the only ones that are allowed to have the freedom of the press, and everyone else isn't, that's an issue. Now, freedom of the press shouldn't just be like a legal thing, you know, like, oh, well, the government can't crack down on whatever. It's a concept. It's a way of organizing society. Like, everyone should believe that the press should have freedom because it benefits you as a person. It benefits you as an individual if you have access to more information rather than less information. And when you have grievance, you have the ability to communicate with other people what your grievance is. In a controlled system, you can't do that. So this is like the major issue. And when you have like the government, when you have the agencies cracking down on Twitter, telling Twitter it's like you're not allowed to publish the Hunter Biden laptop story, right? Like suppress that information. That is an attack on the free press. Social media is now the free press. The fact that you can go and you can communicate with your citizens directly, that is the free press. But unfortunately, we do not get to see that, and the culture is still trying to gaslight people into believing that unless you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you do not benefit from the human right of free press. Now, what's also interesting is that throughout the last years, many people have gotten banned from social media. And there wasn't a single peep from the ACLU, the ADL, the Southern Poverty Law Center, the organizations that are fighting for human rights. Not a single peep. The moment some journalists got banned a couple of months ago from X, all of these NGOs were like, oh my God, oh, but like freedom of the press, oh, how can Elon Musk do this? And I'm looking at like some of the people that got banned before. Not only did individuals know who they were, but they had like millions of followers. They had tens of millions of clicks and engagements. Meanwhile, these journalists that worked at corporations, the ones that got banned, no one knows who the fuck they are. And I'm looking at some of the papers they published, barely any engagement. It doesn't really surprise me because most of the shit that they were pushing was propaganda that's already patented by all the other mainstream media outlets, right? So like, when you talk about freedom of the press, when you have like a person that's genuinely influential, that actually has things to say that millions of people want to tune into, oh, well, that's fine. You know, like Alex Jones, for instance, right? I don't listen to Alex Jones. Unironically, I'm not just saying this because, no, it's true. I don't listen to him. He's a little bit too exaggerated for my taste. But he gets banned. That's fine. You know, people congratulate. That's not like, oh, well, the freedom of the press. It's like, well, there's like tens of millions of people that want to listen to him. Like, he's getting tens of millions of views. No one cares, right? The moment like some journalist that works at the New York Times or Wall Street Journal gets censored on Twitter, oh my God, oh, the horror, oh, what do we do? And a lot of these journalists, you know, like they advocate for your life standard to decrease. Like, they advocate for more taxes, they advocate for more regulations, they advocate for stuff that genuinely makes your life worse. In some extremes, I even saw articles in The Guardian advocating for people to have less kids and saying that having kids is bad for the environment and shit. Like, anti-humanist behavior, apparently, you know, like that is fine. Like that level of extremism is okay to be published, that's okay. But if you make a suggestion like, hey, maybe we can open the businesses because the pandemic has been going on for a while and we can't shut down our economy because then life is going to get more expensive. If you say that, it's fine to get canceled. Like that person needs to shut the fuck up. Do you know why Alex Jones got banned, since I already brought him up? Like what got him banned from Twitter? Making fun of CNN.